My fiancé cheated on me just days before our wedding, so I went through with the ceremony and exposed him in front of everyone. 5 days. That's all it was supposed to be. 5 days until I said, I do, and became Mrs. Lily Carter. 5 days until the future I had meticulously planned began. But instead of excitement, I sat alone in the dark corner of my apartment, staring at the glow of Derek's phone. His texts glared back at me, mocking me, taunting me to deny the truth. The air felt heavier with every passing second. My lungs struggled for breath, and my fingers were icy cold as I scrolled through the words exchanged between Derek and some woman named Emily. I almost laughed at the absurdity of it. Emily, such a plain, unassuming name. It didn't fit the narrative I had built of this life-wrecking stranger in my head. Can't wait to see you again, babe. Last night was incredible. That was Derek, my Derek, the same man who, just hours earlier, had kissed me goodbye and promised to grab the last few items for the wedding. The same man who swore up and down he couldn't wait to spend the rest of his life with me. The pit in my stomach deepened as I reread Emily's reply. You're going to make such a boring husband, sneaking around all the time. But I don't mind being your little secret. The phone slipped from my hands and hit the floor with a dull thud. My heart pounded in my ears, louder than the silence that surrounded me. It was surreal. Like watching someone else's life implode in slow motion. For the first few minutes, I couldn't move. My body felt paralyzed, locked in place by the sheer weight of betrayal. I'd always imagined that if something like this ever happened, I'd scream or cry or throw something. But no tears came, no shouts or wails escaped my lips. Instead, I sat there, frozen in disbelief, until the faint glow of the sunrise crept through the curtains. By then, the shock had started to morph into something else. Something colder, sharper, more deliberate. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to confront Derek. No, I decided right then and there that I was going to make him pay. Derek and I had been together for 4 years, and for most of that time, I believed we were happy. In hindsight, the signs were all there: the late-night work calls, the sudden need for space, the vague answers when I asked where he'd been. But I'd ignored them. I'd convinced myself that I was just being insecure, that Derek loved me, that our relationship was solid. I didn't want to think about how long this affair with Emily had been going on or how many others there might have been before her. What mattered now was what I was going to do about it. For the next few days, I played the role of the doting fiancé to perfection. I smiled when Derek came home, asked about his day, and pretended I was still excited about the wedding. Inside, though, I was seething. Every kiss, every touch, every "I love you" from him made my skin crawl. When he wasn't looking, I was busy planning. My original wedding checklist, flowers, seating arrangements, final fittings, was replaced with something far more sinister. I wanted the truth to come out, but not in some private argument or quiet confrontation. Derek didn't deserve the dignity of a behind-closed-doors breakup. No, I wanted everyone to know exactly who he was. By the morning of the wedding, I had everything in place. The venue was gorgeous, just as we'd planned. A sprawling garden filled with white roses, fairy lights, and the faint hum of violins in the background. Guests were seated, cameras were flashing, and Derek stood at the altar, looking every bit the charming groom he pretended to be. As I made my way down the aisle, I could feel every pair of eyes on me. My dress, a delicate lace gown I had dreamed of since I was a teenager, shimmered under the sunlight. To everyone watching, I must have looked like the picture-perfect bride. But inside, my heart raced for an entirely different reason. When I reached Derek, he smiled at me with that same disarming grin that used to make me melt. Today, it only fueled my resolve. The ceremony began, and the officiant guided us through the vows. When it was my turn to speak, I took the microphone, my hands trembling slightly. I glanced at Derek, then at the crowd. For a moment, I hesitated. Could I really go through with this? Could I shatter this illusion in front of everyone we knew and loved? Yes, I could. Taking a deep breath, I began. Before I say my vows, there's something I need to share with all of you, I said. my voice steady despite the chaos swirling inside me. It wouldn't feel right to start this new chapter of my life without being completely honest. The guests shifted in their seats, murmurs rippling through the crowd. Derek's brow furrowed, a flicker of confusion crossing his face. I thought I knew the man I was marrying, I continued, my gaze locking onto his. But a few days ago, I found something that changed everything. The murmurs grew louder, and Derek's face paled. I found messages, I said, holding up my phone. Messages between Derek and another woman. Her name is Emily, and apparently, she's been a very big part of his life for quite some time now. Gasps erupted from the crowd. Derek's mother clutched her chest, while his best man, who must have known about the affair, looked anywhere but at me. Derek stepped toward me, his hands raised as if to stop me. Lily, wait, but I cut him off. Don't, I said sharply. You don't get to explain. You don't get to apologize. Not here, not now. Turning back to the crowd, I continued. This isn't just about me. It's about all of you, too. Derek has lied to every single one of us. To his friends, his family, to me. And I think you all deserve to know the truth. I pulled up the messages on the screen and began reading them aloud, my voice unwavering despite the chaos unfolding around me. Every word felt like a dagger, and I wanted him to feel every single one. When I finished, I handed the microphone back to the officiant and turned to Derek one last time. You may have broken my heart, I said quietly, but you won't break me. And with that, I walked down the aisle, not toward Derek, but away from him. The moment I stepped out of the garden, a strange mix of emotions washed over me, relief, anger, sadness, and even a hint of triumph. My chest heaved as I sucked in the fresh air, away from the stifling weight of that ceremony. The echoes of gasps and whispers from the crowd still lingered in my ears, but I didn't look back. I couldn't. As I walked to the car waiting to take me away, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in one of the venue's large glass windows. There I was, in my beautiful lace gown, the one I had dreamed of for years. But the woman staring back at me didn't look like a bride. She looked like a warrior. My best friend, Rachel, was waiting by the car, just as we had planned. She had been the only one I told about Derek's betrayal and my decision to expose him at the wedding. I knew I could trust her to have my back. Lily, she called out, rushing to meet me. Are you okay? I nodded, though my throat felt tight. I'm fine. Let's just get out of here. Rachel didn't ask any more questions. She opened the car door, and I climbed in, the skirt of my dress spilling across the seat. As we drove away, I finally let out a shaky breath, my hands trembling in my lap. You were amazing back there, Rachel said softly, her voice full of pride. I don't think I've ever seen anyone handle something like that with so much grace. I let out a dry laugh. Grace? I just aired all my dirty laundry in front of 150 people. No, she said firmly. You stood up for yourself. You showed everyone that you deserve better than a lying, cheating scumbag. And you did it on your terms. Her words brought a small smile to my lips, but the weight of what had just happened still pressed heavily on my chest. I leaned my head against the window, watching the scenery blur past as we left the venue behind. The days that followed were a whirlwind of emotions. The story of what happened at the wedding spread like wildfire among our friends and family. My phone buzzed constantly with messages, some offering support, others demanding answers. Derek tried to reach out to me, of course. He left voicemail after voicemail, his voice a mix of anger, desperation, and pleading. Lily, please call me. We need to talk. I can explain. Delete. Lily, you didn't have to do that in front of everyone. Can we just talk, please? Delete. The more he tried to contact me, the more resolved I became to move forward without him. I blocked his number, unfollowed him on social media, and started the process of canceling all the wedding arrangements. It was painful, though. Every call to a vendor, every canceled reservation, every box of wedding favors returned felt like ripping off another piece of the life I thought I was going to have. But as hard as it was, I knew it was necessary. One night, about a week after the wedding I found myself sitting on the floor of my apartment, surrounded by remnants of my almost marriage. There were photo albums, invitations, even the stupid monogrammed napkins Derek had insisted on ordering. I picked up a picture of us from our engagement party. We looked so happy, so in love. My fingers hovered over his smiling face, and for the first time since discovering the texts, tears began to fall. I cried for the love I had lost, for the trust that had been broken, and for the future that would never be. But I also cried for myself, the version of me who had ignored the red flags, who had settled for less than she deserved, who had been so desperate to make things work that she had blinded herself to the truth. When the tears finally stopped, I felt lighter. I wiped my face, took a deep breath, and made a decision. This was not going to define me. The weeks turned into months, and slowly, I began to rebuild my life. I threw myself into work, taking on new projects and responsibilities that had been on hold during wedding planning. I reconnected with old friends, people I had drifted away from during my relationship with Derek. Rachel and I started a weekly wine and wine night, where we drink cheap wine and vent about everything from bad dates to annoying coworkers. It became a ritual I looked forward to, a reminder that I wasn't alone in this. I also started going to therapy, something I had always dismissed as unnecessary. But those sessions became a lifeline. My therapist helped me unpack the layers of hurt and betrayal, but she also helped me see the patterns in my life. The ways I had allowed myself to be treated, the boundaries I had failed to set. It was hard work, but it was worth it. One sunny afternoon, about 6 months after the wedding, I found myself walking through the park near my apartment. The air was crisp, and the leaves were just starting to turn shades of red and gold. As I strolled along the path, I spotted a small cafe tucked away in the corner of the park. I had passed it a dozen times before but had never gone in. On a whim, I decided to stop. The cafe was cozy and warm, filled with the smell of freshly brewed coffee and baked goods. I ordered a latte and found a seat by the window, watching the world go by. As I sat there, sipping my coffee, I realized something. For the first time in months, I felt content. Not happy, exactly, but at peace. I wasn't thinking about Derek or Emily or the wedding. I wasn't replaying old memories or imagining what could have been. I was just here, in this moment, enjoying a quiet afternoon. And that's when it hit me. I was going to be okay. The final step in my journey came a few weeks later, when I stumbled across an old journal while cleaning out my closet. Flipping through the pages, I found an entry I had written years ago, long before I met Derek. In it, I had described the kind of life I wanted, the adventures I wanted to have, the goals I wanted to achieve, the person I wanted to become. I realized then that I had lost sight of those dreams somewhere along the way. But now, I had a chance to reclaim them. I started making a list of all the things I wanted to do: travel to Italy, take a cooking class, learn to play the guitar. They weren't big, life-changing goals, but they were mine. And as I worked my way through that list, I found myself again. Looking back now, I don't regret what happened. It was painful, yes, but it taught me so much about myself, about my strength, my resilience, and my worth. Derek may have broken my heart, but he didn't break me. I am Lily, I am whole, and I am finally free.